Howdy, it's Giggles, and I'm in New Jersey. I know it's been a while. It's been since, what was it, Upper Goose Pond up in the middle of Massachusetts, since we had a podcast. Anyway, I hope you watched that one. That was a cool place. Later on that day, excuse me, the allergies been horrible up here. Anyway, Upper Goose Pond, it was beautiful. It was this cabin that was on this beautiful lake surrounded by homes, people fishing in their bass boats and stuff, but it's a small lake. It's no wake zone sort of stuff. And what I did is I got one of the canoes and took a rod and reel and just a little red and white crappie jig, casted it out, and caught, I don't know, like 16, 17 perch, and got a new caretaker. I showed you that couple, and they were cool. Well, that night, another guy came in. He was probably, I think he was like in his early 80s, but he thru-hiked the trail southbound in his 60s. So he was cool to talk to, and he hooked me up with some grease and some batter and stuff. We fried those babies up, and it was good. Then I started hiking down to Great Barrington, and that's where things weren't so good because I got stung by about 9 wasps, and it was nasty. I never have had any real bad allergic reactions to insects before, or anything else for that matter. But I immediately took a Benadryl, knowing that 9 wasp stings is not going to be fun. Hiked, I don't know, about a half a mile down to where the road is to go into Great Barrington. Got a hitch immediately. Knew I was in trouble because it started itching all over my entire body. Took a second Benadryl, and on the ride in the car, this lady's talking to me, showing me the town. I'm trying to listen, but I'm looking at the rear view mirror on my side, and my face started turning red. So I pulled my shirt up a little bit. I got hives all over my body. And she says, so where do you want to go first? I said, well, probably food, let's go to the grocery store and pick up, do the resupply, do the serious stuff first. And I said, is my face red? She said, well, yeah, but, the sun's out. And I said, I looked for another 15 minutes. My face started getting puffy. My eyes started, swelling up. I said, ma'am, I think you need to take me to the hospital. So she dropped me off there. But about the time I got to the parking lot, it started going down the swelling. I said, well, screw it. Let's go to the bar and drink some beers. So I did and had some dinner. Yeah, Great Barrington's kind of one of those uppity towns. Kind of remind me of Vermont. I don't know, something's not right with it. But, whatever makes those people happy. So went to the community center. They hooked it up with the shower. It was great, and a tent site. Decided I wasn't having a lot of fun after those stings, so I went back to North Adams up in North Massachusetts. Met up with Allright, saw him on the trail. Didn't hang out with him much, and then met up with Spills. You guys have heard a lot about her. And I'll tell you more about her. But Spills and I hit up Greylock Community Club. So now the bartender knows me by name, and but they had a special night. They have a monthly drawing where they draw numbers and people win money or whatever. I don't know how it works. Well, that was going on that night. So me and Spills are just sitting there drinking, and the whole town is in this community club at like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. They have the drawing, and the people of the town were really gracious. They gave us all sorts of stuff and bought beers, and it was just a blast. The bartender has held hikers, had them tent in her yard lately and stuff. So the very, very hiker-friendly town. One of the most hiker-friendly towns I've seen on the entire AT, and that says a lot because there's been a ton of them. I would say 80% of the towns are hiker friendly, or at least all right, and then there's like this 40% that are just out of their way to make the hikers happy and invite them in, and in this case almost make them family and basically residents of the town for the evening. So very, very cool. Then hiked over Greylock a second time. Had fun doing that. And then went into Pittsfield, which is the biggest city in western Massachusetts. It's a pretty good sized town. I would say it's even probably bigger than Tyler, Texas or something, like that. But maybe a little, I wouldn't say as big as Tulsa, but maybe Tyler. Anyway, I had breakfast, and then I went to a beer festival and had a blast there, and then got back on the trail and the next day and continued on and got into Connecticut. I mean, pretty much all I got to say about Connecticut is, I don't know. It's like the real world. It's Connecticut. Not much to be said. I mean, they got some good basketball at their university. That's about it. But anyway, that was an interesting state. Maybe not. But then got into New York. Really liked New York. In fact, I'm sitting in New York right now as we speak. But on the trail, I'm in New Jersey. I'll explain how the trail winds through the two states. New York was amazing. The trees are starting to get right. They're starting to turn colors. They're not all the way there yet. It doesn't look like the calendar picture, but it's looking good. And I would say probably the most cool thing about New York is I stayed on this mountain called Black Mountain and stealth camped. That's where you camp where you're not supposed to. Put my tent up, and you could see New York City from my campsite. I was 35 miles away from New York City and could see the Chrysler Tower, the Empire State Building, and I apologize, the new building that replaces the Freedom Tower. I don't know what it is. I should know. It's too patriotic not to, but it's unpatriotic of me not to know what the hell they replaced the Twin Towers out of. But anyway, I'll figure it out. I saw the suckers from 35 miles away. It was a blast just sitting up there watching New York City, thinking about what craziness could be going on at 8 o'clock at night. Anyway, that was cool. I will say New York's a difficult state. It has the same rocks as Maine and the same inclines on the mountains. Now, I don't think there's one mountain that's over 2,000 feet. Well, back home we call that hills, But, when you look at them, they're mountains. But they're as small as mountains can get, pretty much. Under 2,000 feet is it's kind of a joke, but it's very steep going up that 700 feet that you go up. So I was expecting to make higher mileage down here, and really not that much higher. I would say I was making higher mileage up in Vermont and Massachusetts. But the mileage is coming back because New Jersey is more flat. The water's better. It's pretty much the same scenery, similar types of rocks, but not as steep and not as nasty. In New York, they have this one thing called the lemon squeeze. I'm sure you can Google on there and find what it looks like, but it's kind of cool because it's about 5 foot tall by about 1.5 foot gap that you walk through. I had to take my pack off and carry it above because it was too too much width. And then I went down like a 15-foot straight down thing, piece of rock, and I messed up my shoulder doing that. I mean, it doesn't hurt while I walk. It hurts when I move my shoulder. It hurts mainly my arm, but I don't know. It seems like on the trail, something's always hurting. It's like athletes. It's like playing football in season. They always have something going on, you know. But physically, it's amazing how well I've done. I'm not to brag or anything, but I've had zero problems, blister-wise or anything like that. Thank goodness I haven't had any tick bites that I know of. No Lyme disease. Anyway, so I'm in New Jersey now. I've been in New Jersey fully for about a day. Yesterday I hiked 18 miles and went to this cool place that's a farm. The guy's name is Murray, the Murray Farm. And the cool thing about the Murray Farm is he has this... I didn't meet the man. I just walked in there, and there was basically a small cabin. Two other hikers were there. I didn't instantly recognize them. One's name is Fireball. The other's is Fancy Feet. And they have a Weimaraner that's been hiking with them. They were cool to talk to. They're flip-floppers. They started at Bear Mountain, New York. They just finished Katahdin. Now they're flipping back. So they just started on their flip-flop and they're going down to Springer Mountain. Now the interesting thing is I saw them while hiking up Moosilauke, which is it's the last of the Whites. It's a pretty decent mountain. It's a fun mountain. I really enjoyed it. But one thing I do to go faster is if someone's behind me and I see them and I'm on switchbacks, I know it's really nerdy, but it works. If I see the person, I try to run as fast as I can till they cannot see me, and then go up the next switchback so that they can't see me when they go around the corner, and I try to continue that. And what that does is that makes me always faster than whoever's behind me. Now, this particular day, my knees were feeling really good for the Whites, especially coming out of them. My muscles were A+, so I was really fast, and I had a light pack. Now, these two ladies were slack packing. They had no pack except for a day pack. Slack packing is where a hostel takes your pack. You take a day pack with some water, some snacks, and so you hike without a pack, basically. So you can make faster, longer miles in a day, and it gets you through a big mountain quick. I don't do that. Some people do. We've talked about this before on the podcast. If you want to look at it, go back to that Gorham podcast, the first one. Anyway, I'm carrying a pack, and I'm beating these girls through a slack packing because I'm a nut, and I'm playing this crazy game of mine. So I recognize this dog. I'm like, wait, I remember you from Moosilauke anyway. Cool deal. This guy had water, a privy, stayed there. It was supposed to get down to 31 degrees last night. In Unionville, New York. That's close to where I was. And I don't think it got to freezing. So the last time I've seen freezing was back in August, back in the White Mountains. So the weather's been great. The weather's been hot as hell, actually. It got up like a few weeks ago up to like 94 degrees in southern Massachusetts or northern Connecticut. So unbelievable. It got up in the 90s all the way up in Maine. If it's in the 80s, hikers sweat. You can take your shirt off and hike and you just sweat and sweat and sweat because it's like running. It's walking fast, so you sweat just like you do when you run. So, not to complain, it's been great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, 80-degree weather this time of year is unbelievable. 70-degree weather is even hot to us, but it's still 70? Are you kidding me? So we just had our first real good front that came through. Yesterday was the first day that I hiked with leggings on, my tights for all day. And the only other times is when I'm up on mountains or something, or in the morning. Even hiked quite a bit in my puffy, which is a very warm jacket. So, things are turning. It is fall, and anyway, we're ready for it. I told you I was going to tell you more about Spills. She got off the trail. Had some canine problems back home. Someone can't keep care of her dog or something. But anyway, it really kind of depresses me a bit just because she was such a good friend. Knew her from way back in the wilderness. I know Dirtbag. We've talked about her. Sierra, who's Dirtbag. She was in the gondola with me. She's back, I don't know, about 5 days with Animal, this dude who's kind of interesting. Both of them are 18. They don't give a care. They don't give a fuck. They just hike and they do crazy stuff. This is the girl that hikes with no shoes and stuff. So, anyway, they're evidently stuck at some deli. They've been there for 5 days because they can't give up the sandwiches. I can't blame them. Other than that, like friends-wise, there's been a group. They went to New York City and then came out. Kind of new friends. I've kind of hit a bubble in the trails, actually, which is interesting. I think it's kind of like the final bubble. To be in New Jersey right now, this time of year, you're at the very end of thru hikers. It's just the truth. There may be some nutcases that are behind, but those that are very, very fast hikers, it seems like they're passing me by pretty quickly. Not that I'm not on time. I mean, this isn't a race. As you guys know, it's more about the party to me, but I am serious about the hiking also. And I don't know, it's looking good to me. I'm thinking I'm going to be at Harper's Ferry by like the first week in November. And, maybe second week. We'll see. Definitely halfway point here in about 2.5, 3 weeks. But you know what? I'm not hurrying through New Jersey at all, and I'll tell you why. For one, it's kind of a pretty state. The mountains aren't spectacular. As the trail goes, I kind of joked about Connecticut being boring. It was only like 2 or 3 days worth, but Connecticut was all right. Don't get me wrong. And New Jersey is not that special. The mountain, there's really nothing. I saw the highest mountain in New Jersey. It's like less than 2,000 feet. It's ridiculous. But I met a friend up in Monson, Maine. Monson is where you come out of the 100-mile wilderness. There was Shaw's hostel. If you're gonna hike the trail, I highly recommend Shaw's. There's another hostel in town, Lakeside. They're awesome too. I didn't stay there. I stayed at Shaw's. I will say it may be. It is said to be the best breakfast on the trail at any hostel. I would say it probably is so far. I've only been through a third of the trail, but it's been the best so far. They hook you up on breakfast, and they're good to you. Why am I talking about Shaw's? Oh, I met Tom Gilmore at Shaw's. Tom, I don't know, he's about 60 years old. He is from New Jersey, and he was up there helping some friends who were hiking. I think like shuttle them around and stuff. I don't know the whole story. I'll have to ask him. But he left me his number, and he said, Giggles, when you get down to New Jersey, give me a ring. So today I picked up my phone. I said, it's time to talk. It's time to call Tom. So I called Tom, left him a message, told him what's up. I'm in New Jersey. He says, he calls me back and he says, look, when you going to be down at the Mohican Outdoor Center, which is this cool outdoor center. I haven't been there yet. I'll report on it with you guys. It's, I think it's a place, where people go out and camp, and they got bunks and stuff. And anyway, Tom helps out there sometimes on the weekends. All the AT is pretty much all volunteer sort of stuff, and this place is right on the AT. Part of Benton McKay's dream. By the way, I've told you, go do it. Check out Benton McKay. That's the guy that started the trail. Awesome dude. So Tom says, "Look, I tell you what, I'm going to be at the Mohican Center on Friday. When are you going to be coming through there?" I said, "Friday sounds fine." Now, truth be told, I wasn't going to be there through Thursday, but he says Friday. I can wait a day and see this dude. A few hours later, I get a text and he says, "Your bunk is taken care of." So I don't know. He's hooked me up on some bunk there, so I don't have to put my tent up or anything. I get to go to a bunk and hang out at this place. I don't know. I think we're gonna have dinner and anyway, just like in everyday life off the trail, it's the same rules on the trail. It's just everything's a little magnified, right? Like one of the rules is you have to network. I don't go around asking for people's numbers. I don't go around to these networking conferences when I was in the workforce. I'm not going and acting like an ass and having cocktails and act like I'm having fun trying to get fucking networking information. It ain't happening. But on the trail, and just like in everyday life, you get people's numbers, you figure people out, you talk to people, you communicate. Communication is so important in everybody's life, and it just seems like it's so easy to communicate on the trail sometimes. It's amazing how deep some of our hikers get along with each other, and just what goes down on the trail. But meeting people, getting numbers, and meeting them in another state is no big deal. But I have to ask you. How many of you guys know how many of you guys can trust your next door or across the street neighbor if it hits the fan tomorrow? Do you know them? Do you know a thing about them? Most of you don't. Anyway, look, didn't mean to get on a rant. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm just excited to see Tom, and that sounds like a lot of fun. So I'm going to go, I'm slowing it down a little bit through New Jersey. As soon as I leave there, I'm hitting Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's only a few days, which is the last state till I hit the Mason-Dixon line, which is about the midway point anyway. Harper's Ferry's close, and that's right there. So halfway point's coming up, so I'm getting motivated to put some miles down. It is getting difficult because there's not as much sunlight anymore, though. So I stocked up on Duracells. May do a little night hiking, maybe in the next few weeks or so. We'll see how that goes. I know I had some other stuff. I do have some shout outs while I think about what else to catch you guys up on. I got a shout out to Whitney and Brittany, Nicole. You know who you are. And to Tom Gilmore when you watch this. I know Chris Katulak's been, viewing, been sending out some pointers. I want to give a shout out to Tommy Alverson. Good job on the 20th anniversary, but I also know you've been having some trouble with your heart, but I hear everything's good, so hang in there, buddy. And I have to tell you about I know I was leaving something out. We're not done yet. There was this really cool shelter called the RPK shelter in New York. And I zeroed at that shelter because it's not a regular shelter. It's four-walled with like brick walls. A hurricane could come through. You wouldn't even notice it. Stayed in that shelter during what was supposed to be some bad rain from whatever hurricane that was that came up through Alabama or whatever. Hell, I've already forgot the name. There's how many hurricanes we had this year? It's been ridiculous. Anyway, I should have hiked in the rain, but anyway, I knew I could get some pizza delivered to this place, and I knew I could get an Uber in for some beer, and I knew some friends were coming. We partied down there. By the way, I want to talk about the asshole at the RPK shelter. It's in a neighborhood pretty much, and I feel sorry for the neighbors who have to put up with some of these goofballs who don't act right. But most of us hikers act right. There's only a few idiots, just like everybody else. There's always some few idiots in there. So, this guy comes up with his standard-sized poodle and starts asking questions about whether I think people are nice or not. And he tells me that he asks everybody he meets, do you think people are nice or not? That's a loaded question. That's like Obama back when he said hope and change. Well, what did hope and change mean? Well, it meant something different to everybody. Trump's no better. What was that? Make America great again? Well, what does that mean? It means being great. It means something different to everybody. Anyway. Same shit. What does nice mean? People are nice and they're not nice. It depends on when you get them and what they're doing and what they're saying and what you're doing to them. Anyway, he hated hikers. He pretty much told us he hated hikers. But told us it wasn't the hikers causing problems. Told us it was these teenagers causing problems with their drug needles and whatever other bullshit he came up with. Anyway, I informed him of this podcast. I don't think he's smart enough to tune in. But anyway, if you do, go fuck yourself, you motherfucker. I don't like you. You act funny around me. And anyway, it's on the damn trail. And the guy donated his damn house to be on the trail. So anyway, enough of that. I'm sorry I got worked up. New Jersey's been great. I got to give a shout out to... what is this place called? Now I'm embarrassed. I'm at a hostel. I don't know if I explained this earlier, but basically I'm in someone's home and I'm here alone. I'm in a 3-bedroom home in a neighborhood in this town of New York. Oh, I wanted to tell you about that. You go through New York and New Jersey back and forth for 40 miles. Sometimes you're in New Jersey, sometimes you're in New York. About 2 miles from here is the border where Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey meet. I just drove across it. It was crazy on the way to Walmart to get some beer, milk, and orange juice. But, this place is awesome because the lady's out of town. I talked to her, she was on the beach on vacation, and her basically daughter-in-law's running the place. Well, she's at her house dealing with her family and stuff. Leaves the place to me. I get the shower, I get the laundry. I get to sit here, do a podcast in the living room, and act like I own the place. And anyway, I'm going to leave it clean for them. But when do you get that? I mean, I know it's kind of sucks being alone on the trail, being sobo sometimes, but when you got a whole place to yourself like this, that's pretty sweet. So, shout out to the hostel at Port Jarvis. If you go through Port Jarvis, check out the hostel. It's not on AWOLs, but it is on gut hooks, so check it out. I highly recommend it. And if you're going south right now and you're still up in northern New York, hit up Black Mountain. Do that stealth camp. It was really nice. All right, look, we're almost 30 minutes here. I've been going long, and I don't even have a guest. I kind of like it this way. It's been pretty good. But I'm in a good setting, you know. So, all right, I got beer to drink, and I don't know. I got to check out, see if the Astros won. I got some baseball to watch. I'm rooting on them, and I'm in Yankee territory, so that's been great. It was interesting being the only Astro fan in the whole Yankee bar, and the Astros won. And then, by the way, I got to camp out in the ball field that day. So, anyway. All right, look, I'll catch up with you guys. I promise I'll get to you in Pennsylvania, you know. And we'll definitely get a few more in until we get to Harper's Ferry. Got to do a Harper's Ferry podcast. It's Harper's Ferry. It's where the main place is, and we may even do one when we do the ice cream at the halfway point. Yep, that's right. I got to eat like a half-gallon ice cream. Sounds disgusting, but whatever. You got to do it. Talk to you guys later.